We come together for a moment out of time in a place made holy by our presence, to celebrate what is deepest and most true, to honor the beauty of our own heart's longing, to cultivate wonder, imagination, and the courage to act, and to care for one another. Please light your chalice. Our common chalice is now lit.
Welcome to worship with the Church of the Larger Fellowship. Our theme for this month is resistance, and this week we're talking about what it takes to commit to resistance. How do we find the courage, the strength, the tenacity to keep resisting forces that would damage individuals, communities, our earth as a whole? And the answer is varied, but it always involves this is what we do together. And so I'm so glad that we are here together. Come, let us worship together.
Let us now pause for a moment of deepening together as a community, for we each carry within us joys that are too great for one heart to hold, sorrows that are too much for one heart to endure, local and world events which call upon us to bear witness. Let us begin by recalling the joys, whatever you may be celebrating or whatever evokes a feeling of happiness or peace for you or for others. Now let us recall our concerns and sorrows, whatever you or the world may be holding that is in need of our healing and caring thoughts. In the heart of love and in the spirit of prayer, we give thanks for this time together, where joys can be magnified and sorrows can be lessened. Blessed be.
I invite you now into a time of reflection, of meditation, of prayer. So whatever helps you to come into that calm, centered space, I invite you to do it now. Maybe put your feet flat on the floor or your hands in your lap. Maybe close extra tabs on your screen and breathe and center. Spirit of life, of love, of health and wholeness, we recognize that we are now entered into ordinary time. After the excitement or the stress of the holidays, after the gifts are given and received, the food eaten, the cookies baked, all of that finished, most of that put away. We're now in the days that just go on. And so we ask for strength, for courage, for grace to continue, to keep fighting those things that need to be fought, to accept those things that are simply true and not changeable, to find wisdom and strength and courage, not for the crisis, not for the moment, but for the long haul, for all of the ordinary days that call upon us to be so much, to do so much, to give so much. May we find places of rest and renewal. May we find models for courage and strength and action. May we find what it takes to keep on walking forward, to do the next thing, to meet one another eye to eye, and choose over and over what is best. Blessed be. Amen.
Perhaps many of you have seen the new Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard it's pretty good. And what I love about the Star Wars movies is probably what you love too. The Resistance, especially Princess Leia. At the end of last year, my family and I went to see the movie Rogue One. And just before we went into the theater, an alert popped up on my phone that told me that Carrie Fisher had passed away. And so we walked into the theater with heavy hearts to see this movie, and we were just thrilled when she appears at the end of the movie, and I hope I'm not spoiling it for you, but she says one word: hope. Now, this is a foreshadowing of what we know happens in the next 3 movies chronologically. That starts with A New Hope. Like A New Hope, Rogue One is about a band of rebels fighting a fascist empire whose only concern is control and power. Oh my goodness. Who does that remind us of? Well, when I watched it, I kept seeing the band of rebels in terms of our modern day rebellions, like the indigenous resistance at Standing Rock and the movement for Black Lives, and I was brought to tears. And then to see Princess Leia call out what we know happens in the next 3 movies. The resistance wins. They blow up the Death Star, I think maybe for the second time, and they end up partying on a forest planet with a bunch of fuzzy bears. And Carrie Fisher, who played Princess Leia, becomes General Organa, the linchpin of the resistance, the woman who led the rebellion against the dark side of the Force. We often conflate actors with the characters that they play on the screen, and for me, growing up, Carrie Fisher and Princess Leia were one. But Carrie Fisher was not unlike her alter ego, Princess Leia. She battled the dark side, and she wrote eloquently about her struggles with addiction and depression, and she struggled publicly, unafraid to tell the truth. That is true resistance. That is a real warrior. I was born in 1978, and Carrie Fisher loomed large in my childhood. And when I grew older and had my own struggles with addiction, her words, her writing, her movies, they inspired me. They inspired me to keep going when it was difficult. And to see Princess Leia embrace the sort of freaky abnormalities of her personality and rock them was so inspiring to me. I wasn't perfect. Nobody was, not even Princess Leia. So let's talk a second about General Organa. We see in The Force Awakens, the movie that came out last year, that Princess Leia is not a princess anymore. She is a general. She is officially leading the resistance, and she has come into her own as a powerful woman and a powerful leader. And remember, she's lost everything. Her son, her family, her home planet, her husband, her brother, who's gone off somewhere they don't know where. And despite all of this, she continues to show up and fight the Empire. She never gives up. As a recovering addict, I've often told people how grateful I am for my addiction, which seems odd on the face of it, but I believe it has made me a stronger and more resilient person. My resistance to it has built up strong muscles. And when I have faced a challenge since then, I have thought to myself, well, I have faced worse than this, and I know that I'm strong enough to handle it. Now, I don't recommend addiction as a tool for developing fortitude, but we humans can't get away from suffering. In our personal lives, in our families, it is a universal human experience. And in our human family, some of us suffer deeply and from trauma that stretches through generations. How do we endure? Recently, I was on a conference call with the Center for Community Change, and it was the executive director, Deepak Bhagarva, and a bunch of UU ministers and lay leaders, and he told us to prepare for more loss, which was difficult to hear, but not surprising. He said what our purpose was, together, in times of loss, was to build community. And this is something UUs know how to do pretty well, to sit at the table with all different kinds of people and be in communion with one another, to have conversations, and to stay at the table even when it gets difficult, even when people are calling us out, to let love be our guide. We focus on building community. We focus on showing up for one another. And as UUs, we know that building community means being flexible in the face of chaos, being resilient, and holding on to hope. We must resolve to keep going no matter what. Like General Organa, the losses keep piling up and we keep resisting. We keep fighting imperialism and fascism and evil, and we hold on to hope. And as Martin Luther King Jr. said, it is only in the darkness that we can see the stars. And so I invite you now to take a moment and think of some of the stars of the last 12 months. I'm thinking of the election in Alabama, where we defeated Roy Moore. I am thinking of the indigenous resistance at Standing Rock, where Marines got down on their knees in front of tribal elders and asked for forgiveness. And after the horror in Charlottesville, 15,000 people marched in Boston to protest white supremacy. And Black women organized that protest at the last minute, and people showed up. They came out. That gives me hope. This is the community we are building. This is the beloved community. Looking for these moments, looking for ways to create these moments, is what will carry us through the next year and the many months ahead. And it doesn't matter who's in the Oval Office. We can build community. We, the people, together. Our UU faith calls us to do this very thing. And we know it takes flexibility and resilience and hope. Not a wishful hope, but a trust in one another, in community, and in our ability to go on. Like General Organa, we keep showing up. We keep showing up for the resistance no matter what happens. And while the end of the saga may seem a long way off, where we blow up the Death Star and defeat Darth Vader and party on that forest planet, we can still dance. And in fact, we must. Having joy and having hope in community together like this one is a potent form of resistance. Researcher Brené Brown says that hope is not an emotion. Hope is a cognitive behavioral process that we learn when we experience adversity, when we have relationships that are trustworthy, and when we have faith in ourselves to triumph over our struggles. In a recent article for Yes magazine, Janie Stevenson wrote about an anti-immigrant, anti-Islam protest in South London that was met with joyful resistance. Public communal dance in the name of liberation asserts our humanity, joyfully affirms our very existence, and it releases all of the suppressed rage and anger that we feel. It connects us to one another, creates community, and makes us healthier. Stevenson writes that authoritarianism is directly incompatible with collective joy. Authoritarianism demands fear, hierarchy, an obsession with security, preparation for war. The unexpected, the spontaneous, the pleasantly disruptive nature of collective joy is one of the great equalizers in our social and political struggle. Or, as Emma Goldman once famously said, perhaps apocryphally, if I can't dance, I don't want to be in your revolution. So I invite you now to prepare yourself in body or in spirit. Take a deep breath, and you can dance in your chair while we contemplate what has brought us joy in this resistance. And if you feel so moved, I invite you to dance. Amen. And blessed be.
words he sang at the break of day. Start again, I heard them say. Don't dwell on what has passed away, or what is yet to be. All the wars, they will be fought again. A holy dove, she will be caught again. Bought and sold and bought again. Dove is never free. Ring the bells that still ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how
And now we come to that time in our service when we extinguish the flames that we've lit for this special time set apart. But never do we extinguish the flame that burns eternal. The flame of love, the flame of our commitment to a just and caring world. If you carry that flame, please touch your heart and say to yourself, I carry the flame, and allow that flame to burn bright.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine.